We're live streaming now. You've got everybody muted. And James, are you getting audio from me? I just need a thumbs up on the audio. Just need a thumbs up on the audio. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We're good? The director says we're good. Sorry? Have you done streamed all media? We're good? All right. I'd like to, I'm going to give Cantor one more minute. I'm going to see if they can get a close-up of me. I shouldn't be looking at this because I know what's going on. Let's see if this camera looks better. I still look too skinny. All right, I don't know what's happening with our sync, so you might want to look at the sync too. We just lost signal to Zoom. There we are. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We are testing out some new equipment tonight, so please forgive us as we figure out why I look so skinny, why I am out of sync, because I'm obviously out of sync right now. And I do apologize for that. You might have to close your eyes at some points so that you can actually see us in sync, or at least hear my voice. I promise by the time we get to high holidays, all these issues will be worked out. We have this amazing team putting this together. Big shout out to James and to Samantha, who are in the back of the room trying to tweak everything as we go. So the first thing we have to think about right now, the first thing needs to be the month of Elul, because we're in the month of Elul. We're in the month that we are supposed to be reflecting as to what is occurring all around us and inside of our hearts. And Elul is spelled Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed. And it's the acronym for Anila Dodi V'Dodi Li. I'm my beloved and my beloved is mine. And the idea is that as we search our souls, we become closer and closer to God. And so as a people, as a we, Anila Dodi V'Dodi Li, I am as to my beloved, I am as to Israel, to God, as God is to me, to Israel. So we become holy as we look at this word, as we look at this connection, as we try to become one. Anila Dodi V'Dodi Li, that is the question of Elul in so many ways. How do we become one with holiness, with God, with all that is good? So we begin our prayer service with Shalom Aleichem, that melody we sing where we invite in angels. Because every Friday night we want those angels to be part of our hearts. Every Friday night we want angels to become one with us, just as we want to become one with all that is right, with all that is good during this month of Elul and during this time that we are about to enter the high holy days. We are on page 142. If you have a book, Cantor will be singing, well, Shalom Aleichem. And I'm going to step out and get my shofar.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Oy, 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 Mi Melech, Malachei Amelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, malachei ashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei amelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu. Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Oy, oy, מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Every day during the month of Elul, we are taught to blow the shofar, to hear the call of the ram's horn, to open up our hearts, to open up our souls, so that we are prepared to enter the high holy day season. And I've been rushing around like mad today, as have many of you. And the idea right now is to stop for Shabbat, stop for the sound of the shofar call, stop for your moment of reflection. So take a moment, take a deep breath in and hold it and let it out. Another deep breath in, hold it and let it out. And one final deep breath in. Hold it and let it out. And now if you'd like, you can close your eyes as I do a tekiah, shevarim, a trua, and another tekiah. We continue with Achat Sha'alti, one thing I ask of God. This is a psalm we are taught to say every day during the month of Elul. If you could speak to God, what is the question you would ask? What is that one request you would make? As the Cantor sings and leads us in song, think about what you would ask of God. Cantor.
If you would like to follow along, we're on page 662. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. One thing I ask of Adonai, only that do I seek. One thing I ask of Adonai, only that do I seek. To live in the house of Adonai all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai and to frequent God's temple. To gaze upon the beauty of Adonai and to frequent God's temple. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות לחזות בנועם, בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם, בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו.
We continue with Lachado D, found on page 138. Tonight we'll be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And as we sing Lachado D, we should really at this moment be feeling the presence of Shabbat entering our lives and our hearts. We've done a lot of warm-up, a lot of singing. We've listened to a shofar. We've taken deep breaths. Now's the time to fully accept that relaxation, that hope that comes each Shabbat. Lachado D, page 138, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל מאוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
And now it's my honor to ask our one and only congregant tonight, our past president Rabbi, to come forward to light our Shabbat candles.
La 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 ברוך אתה במצוותיו, במצוותיו. וציוונו להדליק נר, וציוונו להדליק נר, וציוונו להדליק נר של השבת.
So the question arises, how did Elul, this period of waiting for 40 days, of praying for 40 days, come into existence? And it was believed that after Moses came down the mountain, after having created that first set of 10 commandments along with God, that he broke those 10 commandments. And as he broke them, well, the people became scared. They were scared because they thought God would leave them. And their fear only increased when he went back up that mountaintop, prepared to, well, create a second set. And the people waited down below nervously, day after day after day. But finally, on the 40th day, as the sun was about to set, Moses returns. And the people know that neither God nor Moses has deserted them. Those 40 days, well, the first of Elul to Ne'ilah. Ne'ilah is that final prayer service on Yom Kippur. Those 40 days are our period of journeying, well, towards self-reflection. Those 40 days begin on the first of Elul and end on that last evening of Yom Kippur. So now we're going to rise for the Baruch, the call to worship. We're all going to rise and face the ark. Cantor.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד, המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
We now take a moment while we remain standing to cover our eyes. As we cover our eyes, when we take a moment of peace and a moment of quiet, a moment to feel connected to our own heart and our own soul, we become prepared to sing the Shema with the Cantor. Cantor Noah.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד.
You may be seated. We now continue with the Vahavta, that song where we speak about love and learning, about giving to our children, about giving to future generations. The Vahavta can be found on page 154. Cantor Noah.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We turn to page 158 for Michal Mocha. Michal Mocha is that song of joy and happiness that we sing every Friday night. It's that song we sang after we crossed that sea of reeds and we were finally free. And when you become free of any burden, you always want to sing with joy. Cantor Noah, we are on page 158.
בקודש, נורא תהילות תוסף אלה, נורא תהילות תוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע היה לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני לעולם בעת, אדוני ימלוך לעולם בעת. לי 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 לי
We turn to page 162 for Vishamru. Vishamru in the English means the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed. Vishamru.
ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדוד הברית עולם. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדוד הברית עולם. בין היא ובין בני ישראל לעשות את השבת לדותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדותם ברית עולם. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדותם ברית עולם.
We now turn to page 371 for the Misha Berach. I have a list of names, but if you have additional names that are not on our list, if you don't hear them recited, please put them in the chat window. And Melissa Saunders, who's working the computer right now, will shout them out for us after I'm done reading the names on my list. So as you all know, we say the Misha Berach for those who are ill of mind, body, spirit. Tonight on our Misha Berach list, Rick Ames, Jim Banlin, Richard Barrett, Gil Cherish, Miles Dietz, Diane Fantle, George Gugassi, Bonnie Halpern, Jessica Israelite, Michael Levy, Ramon Lucindo, Jackie Jean Michaels, Bryn Pime, Mike Preston, Wendy Rosenblum, Marvin Sagerman, Debbie Schwartz, Gail Silva, Rose Silurick, Esther Weissman, Eric Smith, those caring for those who are ill, and obviously all those injured in that terrible blast in Afghanistan. And we have some additional names. Let me see for a moment if I can call them up on my iPad. Give me one moment. Melissa, do you want to yell out the names for us? I can't. Oh, I can get the chat open. On our chat, I have the following: Carol Schenken Kopel, Philip Freilich, Dimitri Calavas, Chaim Deckel, Lindsay Freed, Vivian Ihori and Regina Cardines, Donna Frankel, Cindy Lincoln, Al Siegel, Rick Powell, Louise Gill, and Barbara Mogitz Guzik. I apologize if I mispronounced someone's name. Misha Berach Avatenu Vimotenu, may the God of our ancestors grant a refuah shlema to all those we named tonight and to all those we hold in our hearts. And together we say, Amen. Cantor.
אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach imotenu mekor habracha those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal
We turn to page 164 for the Amidah. It's now time for the community to rise, if you are able, and to face our ark, whether you're in the sanctuary or at home. As we pray the Amidah, let us think about all those things we want for our world and our community. The good things, like health and sustenance and education and joyous times. So let's rise, let's face the ark, and the cantor will lead us in the Amidah.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל הגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue silently through page 180. When you're done with your silent prayer, you may be seated.
והגיון ליבי יהיו לרצון עם רפי והגיון ליבי לפניך יהיו לרצון עם רפי והגיון ליבי יהיו לרצון עם רפי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי Go inside your heart, just be. Go inside your heart and see what it wants, what it needs, what it yearns when you breathe. Go inside your heart and see. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be kind, be true. May they be acceptable to you. Oh, my rock, my rock, and my Redeemer.
In joy. We are supposed to pray in joy. But how can we pray in joy when our hearts are elsewhere? I know that during my free moments over the last 2 days, I've been tuned in to CNN. My heart breaking over the images of what happened in Afghanistan. I keep thinking about those 13 U.S. service members who gave their lives during a humanitarian effort. I keep thinking about those hundreds of Afghanis who died, who lost their lives. Pray with joy in my heart. I can't do it. Tonight, I pray with a heaviness in my heart. And perhaps some of you are here tonight because you want to recite the Kaddish. Memory is your focus, not joy. And let's remember, we are a people who believe in remembrance, who believe in memorializing the past. So it's quite easy to forget about joy and to think about those you loved and to focus on them. And while it might give you a moment of joy, it might also give you a moment of melancholy. So joy, why am I bringing up joy? Because we are taught to be like King David, who was always dancing and singing in front of the Torah. As the Mishneh Torah teaches us, there is no greater honor and esteem than to rejoice before God, just like King David, who was whistling and dancing all the time before the ark and before God. My first question when I read this piece from the Mishneh Torah is, why was he whistling? Perhaps he sings more like me and less like the Cantor, so the best he could do was whistle out a tune. But then I began to think about all we learn in the stories of King David's life. You see, King David didn't live in a biblical Shangri-La. He lived more in a biblical Peyton's place. There was always controversy surrounding his reign. He was always in battle, either with others, like King Saul, with his children over who would take over after he died. He was always battling. And so while this piece of rabbinic literature tells us he was always singing and dancing, in actuality, his life was filled with a lot of angst and heartbreak. And I bring this up because this week's Torah portion is Ki Tavo, which literally means when you enter. And it speaks about what we should do when we enter the promised land, because there we are on the edge of it in this part of our Torah study. And guess what we're taught to do? We're taught that once we cross, we need to pray to God whenever we pray to God with joy in our hearts. Here's the verse I'm talking about. If you do not worship God in joy, you will end up serving your enemies, and God will put an iron yoke on your neck until you are destroyed. In other words, if you don't pray happily with a big smile on your face, you're in big trouble. I find this to be strange, but let's look at what later rabbis say. Later rabbis expanded this idea to you shouldn't just pray joyfully, you should do mitzvot joyfully, good deeds. We're taught a person should rejoice in the fulfillment of a mitzvah and the love of God who commanded it. Anyone who holds himself back from this service should suffer divine retribution. This text is talking about your attitude. Your attitude when you do a good deed, and we're being taught that when you do a good deed, you should put on a happy face and have joy in your heart. And if you do something begrudgingly, then those you're doing it for understand you're doing it begrudgingly, and it makes them feel less than. And I have to admit, as compared to prayer, doing mitzvot, good deeds joyfully, makes a lot more sense to me than being forced to pray joyfully. So I began to think about all this idea of joy and cheerfulness during this time that I'm very worried about, well, so much of this world, this community. I'm so worried about people's health and health issues. I'm so worried about, well, so many different things. But I kept being brought back to joy and happiness because that's what, well, I was studying just today. So there's a story about the prophet Elijah. And Rabbi Barucha, he meets Elijah in a marketplace and he says, hey, Elijah, can you show me someone who's assured of a place in the world to come? So Elijah points to two people. And of course, the rabbi thinks they must be tzaddikim. They must be great, great human beings. So the rabbi goes up to one of them and says, what are your merits? And one of the people responds, we are but simple men. And in their hearts, well, they're wondering why a sage of this rabbi's level is showing interest in them. This rabbi continues, what is your occupation? And they respond, we are jesters. We make people laugh when they are unhappy. And the rabbi, he stopped his inquiry because he realized it was their happiness, their joy, which earned them a share in the world to come. I've told this story a couple of times and I used to love it. But I found over this pandemic that many of these stories don't work as nicely as they used to, for me, for my heart. And I get it. These are two nice guys who are going to go to heaven because don't we all want somebody who's a lot of fun in heaven with us? We don't want any sour punim, any sour faces in heaven. But come on, do we all have to act like this for some heavenly reward? As someone is not joyful but taught children to read over the course of their lives, or developed a vaccine that saved lives, or rescued someone from a bad situation, or fed the homeless, do these people's actions become negated because they might not have taken them with joy in their hearts? Joy shouldn't be our only criteria. 10 years ago, I came to Kol Tikva, and Simcha, joy, became a catchphrase. It's a great catchphrase. People want to come to a community and feel joyous. But in today's world, it's not enough. Joy can't be false. It has to come from our souls. And we are feeling so many other emotions. So many emotions dwell inside of us. and present themselves during prayer and during moments of performing good deeds and during moments of reflection. Joy is just one emotion, and no one lives by just one emotion. So we need to learn to honor our emotions and not let joy just randomly trounce them all. By honoring them, we are honoring ourselves. So on this Shabbat, during this month of Elul, we need to reflect on all of our emotions: joy, sadness, empathy, sympathy, anger, despair, happiness, and I could go on. And as we reflect on all of our emotions, we need to think about the role they play in our lives and to remember to show them respect and to allow them to be part of who we are, so that we can truly walk out into the world and pray with heart and soul and do good deeds with full heart and soul. Shabbat Shalom. And now it's my honor to ask Rob Moline to come forward to share some announcements with us. Rob?
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Cantor. It's my pleasure to represent the Board of Trustees and our newly installed President, Laura Rabney, tonight. Those of you who don't know, behind the scenes, there's just a tremendous amount of work that goes on here at Temple Kol Tikva. And we could not really exist without the tremendous efforts of our Rabbi, of our Cantor, and tonight of our technical team. And that technical team is Samantha Rabney, James Saunders, and Adam Friedman. The world is an ever-changing place. We continue to be flexible with our programming, and we thank all of you for staying flexible with us. Tomorrow night is Slichot. We hope you have RSVP'd and are joining us on our upper lot for wine and cheese at 7 o'clock. Generously supported by Mara and Wayne Schulman. Thank you, Mara and Wayne. It will be followed by Havdalah and then Slichot service held in our sanctuary at 8 p.m. For those who have not had the chance to register for the wine and cheese, but if you feel up to it, please come to the sanctuary at 8 o'clock for Havdalah and Slichot. Rosh Hashanah is only 10 days away. Hopefully you have all seen our emails regarding how services can be viewed. But just in case, here it is. Tot, youth, and family services will be online only. Both evening and morning services will be held live before a studio audience here in the sanctuary. What does that mean? Well, we will be accommodating up to 150 people per service. You can request the top 3 services you'd like to attend. And by the end of the day on Sunday, the 29th, this coming Sunday, you will get an email with the services you have a seat on. That'll happen on Tuesday, the 31st. So get your request in by the 29th. Keep in mind, the clergy will be talking into the camera for all of us viewing at home via Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, or on our website. We hope to see you on Sunday, September 5th at our lower parking lot. We will be doing a matzor or prayer book pickup, along with a little bag of sweetness to help bring in the new year. Please see your emails for more information and let us know you are coming. One last thing before I wrap up. Did you hear that our ECC is reopening? We are thrilled. Please spread the word. More information will be included, including a registration will be on our website and going out in the emails shortly. Thank you for joining together tonight. Shabbat Shalom, one and all.
And thank you, Rob Moline, for all you do for our synagogue and our community. We now turn to page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. We take a moment to think about those who have died recently and those who have died in years past. Those that have really made an impression on our lives. Those who, well, who have come to us both in memory and when they were living in real life to really help form us and to help create our identities. So on our recently departed list, Philip Mogitz, remembered by Sam Wildman. Mary Altsman, remembered by the Karansky family. Janine Bloom, remembered by the Levy family. Pearl Ginsburg, remembered by the Birnbaum family. And of course, our hearts go out to all those lives lost in Afghanistan. We don't have a list of names, but I hope that we have one for next week so we can share it with all of you and pay the military the proper respect. On our Yortzeit list, Mahi Benjamin, Cheryl Brooks, Alvin Cantor, Norman Garnick, Dennis Garish, Sidney Greenspan, H. Huffing Gusto, Lillian Mendelson, Eva Meyer, Edna Race, Leah Reitner, Donald Rosenthal, Sharon Rubin, David Rubin, Michelle Sandoval, Stan Seiden, Leonard Silverman, Bella Stark, Geraldine Suarez, Harry Thaler, Evelyn Bell Walker, Stuart Wise, and Constance Yaspan. If you have an additional name for our Kaddish or Yortzeit list, please share it with us now in the chat window. I see we have a couple new names. Matthew Schenken, Pearl Lipman, Nadia Levinson, John Floyd Kite. Any other names? If you're in the first 7 days of mourning, I ask you to rise. If you're in the first 30 days of mourning, Shloshim, please rise. If you're in the first year of mourning, Shana, please rise. If you're observing a Yortzeit, please rise. And now I'd like the community to rise to show our support and love to all those who mourn and to all those who remember. We are on page 598. Yitgadal v'yikadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'mechon v'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'rechu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Chushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the one who makes peace on high grant peace to all who mourn, to all Israel, and to all humankind. And together we say, Amen. Put your arms around each other for our closing song. As the Cantor sings our closing song, I'm going to ask Rob Moline to come back up and to hold our Kiddush cup and our challah up.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל העולם ועל כל העולם.
If you have a Kiddush cup at home, now is the time to raise it. Rob is raising one for all of us in the sanctuary. Here we go.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן לחיים.
And now Rob is going to uncover our challah. We're all going to say yummy, yum, yum. If you've got a fresh made challah in Zoom land, we can look at it afterwards, so don't eat it too quickly. Here we go.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ בתיאבון.
And now Melissa is going to unmute everybody. You have to mute and then unmute them all at once. And that way everyone can say Shabbat Shalom to one another. You know how to do that, Melissa, or you want me to show you?
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I know. Everyone's so quiet. Please unmute yourselves.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh,